Hi, I'm Shane.
And I'm Miranda. We're Chicky. Join us as we undertake our biggest road trip to date, 5 months around Australia in a 4-wheel drive.
After a year of closed borders due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we were finally able to travel from New Zealand to our closest neighbour, my home country of Australia.
Each episode will take you to a different region in this diverse continent and get up close to its unique wildlife, camping in the outback and Aussie bush.
If you've ever wanted to explore Australia, then this series is for you. Join us on Global Travel Stories.
In this episode, we explore the World Heritage listed rainforests and reefs of tropical North Queensland.
We undertake a 2-night sailing trip through the Whitsundays, exploring a beach consistently voted as the world's most beautiful, and snorkel the surrounding reefs.
On Magnetic Island, we stumble upon Australia's most dense wild koala population.
We put on our scuba gear to explore part of the world's largest living structure, the Great Barrier Reef.
And head up into part of the world's oldest continuous rainforest at Kuranda. For this, and much, much more, follow our journey on Global Travel Stories.
So, plan for today, we're going to head up to Eungella, which is where the Platypus viewing areas are. This is where we'll be camping tonight. We'll actually stop along the way and do a couple of waterfalls, the Wallaman Falls, and I think also the Fire Wheel, I think it's called. It's a nice hiking trail up there in the mountains. We just saw a sign on our way through on the Bruce Highway, and it said Dugong Sanctuary. Pull off here, so we pulled off, and we're in a little place called Clairview, just south of Mackay, hoping to see some of these guys, the Dugong. They're like a sea cow. It's a pretty cool mural.
So unfortunately no dugongs, but it was still a beautiful stopover. Got some gorgeous shots from above. And now we're just heading onto a place called Pinnacle. They're famous for their pies, on the way to Eungella.
Before departing, we came across a blue-faced honeyeater, the first time either of us had seen this type of bird. So we are at the famous Pinnacle Pies. How's the pie?
Delicious. I already had a little bite. Look at that.
So Miranda got the veg pie because she's a vegetarian. So I got the chicken and leek pie. It's kind of sacrilege to use a knife and fork and not pick it up with hands, but it's so damn hot right now, but it is delicious. Really, really good pies. So we're at Finch Hatton Gorge in Eungella National Park. This is about half an hour west of Mackay, and right now it's a really hot day. We're looking at about 28 degrees Celsius, so we're starting to sweat here. We're heading up into the tropics now, or we are in the tropics technically at the moment, which means that we moved from winter to more of a drier season this time of year. So we're not sure how the water levels will be today or how the waterfalls will be, but either way it'll be a great place to cool off. And this is pretty much where all the people from Mackay come out. They come out to these types of places because you can't actually go swimming in the beaches when it's so hot because of, you know, things like jellyfish and sharks and all sorts of crazy stuff. And crocodiles, of course. We've just moved up into crocodile territory. So right now, one of these places is a very, very popular place to go. We're heading up to Wallaman Falls for a quick dip, and then we'll go up to the Wheel of Fire, which is another waterfall. Looking about a 5-kilometer return journey. Wallaman Falls, and I did say it was 28 degrees earlier, but as soon as we entered into the rainforest, I think it dropped about 10 degrees at least. The water here is renowned for being icy cold. I'm a little bit nervous, to be honest. Cold? So the whole way up, we're wondering why they call this the Wheel of Fire, and there it is. The fire wheel flowers. Spring and summer, not the right time of the year. Still beautiful. So we've just climbed up 700 meters right up here to the top of Eungella. The road was like this. I might actually film it tomorrow on the way back down, but pretty spectacular. We're going to an awesome lookout right now called the Sky Window. So we're gonna go check that out. It's a little blurry, but you can see the road we just came on. So we're at the Fern Flats campground, and we've just had a few complications with parking here at the campground. We have a rooftop tent, as you know, and some of the issues are with some of the tent spots that you can only access them by walking, and on their website they have no indication of which ones are foot access only. So we ended up having to just park into a car park, a regular car park spot, and hopefully we should be fine using that for the night, but it made things really confusing and awkward. But on the plus side, right now it is close to dusk, which is time for the platypus, or the platypi, as they are in their plural, right, Chicky? We're going to see more than one today.
Hopefully.
She's excited. This has been one of Miranda's top things that she's wanted to see on this whole trip. So she's marching. Look at that stride.
The platypus, along with the echidna, are known as the world's only monotremes, otherwise known as egg-laying mammals.
She's on a mission. Find more platypus.
The platypus is so unusual that when it was sent to British scientists in the late 18th century for further examination, they thought that it wasn't a real animal, and assumed that someone had sewn different animals together as a prank.
That night at camp, we were approached by a long-nosed bandicoot who didn't at all seem bothered by our presence. Fast they plow through. Machines.
Man on a mission.
Platypi are shy and elusive creatures, which are most active and likely to be seen at dusk or dawn. During the day, they mostly stay hidden in their burrows along the stream banks.
Well, that was certainly worth getting up early for.
Yeah.
How many platypi do you think we saw, Chicky?
I have no idea. I would say, like, overall or this morning?
Overall, maybe 10 to 15.
I was going to say 20. I have no idea.
It's hard to tell which ones are which, and if you're just seeing the same ones over again, but I think there's at least 4 here in this pool alone, which is really, really cool. We got up early and sort of walked around, and we couldn't find anything for a bit, and we were this close to giving up and just heading back, and then they all just started to appear, and you know, it's past 8 o'clock now and they're still jumping up. So, you know, don't exclusively stick to dawn, you know, because they hang around for all hours of the morning. But anyway, we are making our way back to camp. We're going to have breakfast, and then we're heading into Mackay. I'll talk a little bit about Mackay today when we do that, and then after that we're heading out to close to Cape Hillsborough tonight. And camp out down there or up there on the beach, and then tomorrow morning hopefully do sunrise on Cape Hillsborough, which is supposed to be spectacular. So we're here in the town of Mackay in northern Queensland, and the reason why I'm standing under the sign right here is because it shares the same name as my surname, Pinder. And it was actually named after my great uncle, so my father's uncle, named Anzac Pinder, named so because he was born on Anzac Day, which is like a war memorial day, and ironically he actually fought in World War II, and he was one of the Rats of Tobruk. They fought in northern Libya, and they held one of the ports during World War II, and this street was named after him to commemorate him. So we're in Seaforth, just north of Mackay, and looks like we've arrived on the right day. Sunday is their day for the markets, and I'm gonna go in and explore Queenslander style with my sandals or my thongs on and beer in my hand.
Hey brother, it's no secret that I feel as though you lost your way.
Wait until high tide. So we're currently at low tide here in Seaforth, and you can actually see these nets that they have here at the beaches. And this is to protect swimmers from the irukandji, or the box jellyfish, one of the most venomous or most poisonous creatures in the world. In the background there you can actually see Cape Hillsborough, where we'll be going tomorrow for sunrise. Cape Hillsborough, and it's a very famous spot for sunrise, and apparently the kangaroos come out into the beach, so you go down and check it out.
Cape Cape Hillsborough National Park is a rugged and varied landscape consisting of rainforests, eucalypt forest, volcanic rock formations, and stunning beaches. The national park is also well known for its abundant wildlife and fantastic sunrises on the beach.
The agile wallaby, also known as the sandy wallaby, lives in tropical woodland and grassland areas. It is unusual to see them feeding on beaches.
Cape Hillsborough Beach is famous for their kangaroos at sunrise. Many people travel here for that iconic shot of their silhouettes in the foreground while the sun rises over the headlands.
So I was just chatting to the ranger behind me here, and he was saying that the type of wallabies we have are called agile wallabies, and they're very, very timid, so that's why we don't see them so much coming up so close. But the kangaroos and the wallabies have been feeding here for generations, and the reason why they do is because of the mangrove seed pods that wash up on the beaches here, and it's one of only 4 places in Australia where kangaroos and wallabies will feed on the beach. You know, they might cross over beaches, but they'll never stop and feed on the beaches. And that's because the grass that they have here lacks the nutrients they need, and those seed pods are full of vitamins. So yeah, they come down here and chew on those, which is pretty cool.
So that was a great sunrise.
There we have it, Cape Hillsborough. So yeah, we've done sunrise now. We'll be heading up to the Whitsunday coast, and we're ready to start the next part of our journey. It's going to feel like the first real holiday inside of our holiday, because it's all sort of been rush, and it's time for us to sort of chill out and let someone else do all the work while we just enjoy the place. So yeah, we'll be sailing for 2 days on the Whitsunday. Looking forward to that.
After our first evening on Entice, we awoke right in front of the famous Whitsunday Island.
Awesome. Nice, thanks for calling us over, man.
Scraper. We are on Whitsunday Island, and we're going up to the famous lookout over Whitehaven Beach. We're on a 2-night cruise on the Entice, and this is our first stop of the trip.
Located in the heart of the Great Barrier Reef, Whitehaven Beach is one of the world's most beautiful beaches, with its iconic white silica swirling sands and turquoise waters. It is so popular that it was voted #1 best beach in the world according to the 2021 TripAdvisor Traveller's Choice Awards.
So that was the beautiful Whitehaven Beach, and now we're going to walk down to the beach itself. So is this the most beautiful beach you've ever been to?
Yeah.
Are you excited? So we are here down on Whitehaven Beach. This beach is regularly voted as one of the most beautiful beaches, not just in Australia, but in the world. Sometimes it tops that list. And it is one of the biggest tourist attractions in Australia, and any other time, this place would be absolutely packed with tourists. But not only are international borders closed right now, but also the border to New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia is closed to Queensland because of recent COVID outbreaks. So essentially, we have this beach all to ourselves. There's less than a handful of people here, and this is magnificent. This is kind of what traveling would have been like 50 years ago. Absolutely stunning. Beautiful. Oh, that water is pristine. It's amazing. Good? All right, time to jump in.
Okay, ready?
Set, go.
Let's do it.
Show us what it's all about. So we're doing a little paddleboarding here right next to Whitsunday Island. It's stunning.
After our paddleboarding, we relocated to a different location, putting on our fins and masks.
Immediately we were greeted by large schools of giant batfish.
It didn't take long before the surrounding schools drew in the attention of predatory sturgeon.
The Entice came with a bunch of toys to play with. My personal favourite was the aqua scooter.
the Maori wrasse came out to play.
We spent the remainder of our afternoon relaxing on our sailboat and sharing stories with our fellow passengers and crew.
We woke the following morning off the coast of Hook Island and in front of a new reef, ready to take advantage of our final day in the spectacular cluster of islands.
We were joined for breakfast by an osprey nesting close by.
The Whitsundays is situated between the coastal town of Airlie Beach and the Great Barrier Reef. The islands were named by James Cook in 1770 as he passed through the area on the Christian festival day of Whitsunday. We now know that he didn't actually pass through on this date due to the yet-to-be-created international dateline.
As we were saying our goodbyes on board, we were farewelled by a humpback whale and her calf as we made our way back into the harbour at Airlie Beach.
So we're heading up to Big Crystal Creek Campground, which will be our destination for the night, where we'll be camping. Along the way, we're going to have a little swim at Little Crystal Creek, and we're also stopping by Townsville for some food shopping because as of tomorrow, we'll be heading over to Magnetic Island and staying there for 2 nights.
So we're just making our way now down to Little Crystal Creek. We're about 1 hour outside of Townsville, and this is actually considered the most beautiful water or swim spot in the Townsville area. So we decided we had to come down and check it out. It is kind of late afternoon, so it is a little cooler. It got to about 30 degrees today, nice and warm. And now it's probably, I'd say, mid to late 20 degrees, which is kind of nice to still cool off. So we're gonna check out what all the fuss is about. So the bridge behind me here was actually built in the 1930s during the Depression, and it was basically to try and keep employment going within the region. They had men working up here for as little as $2 per day, basically to keep the bridge going, and for about 6 weeks they basically used hand tools only, so it's a very, very difficult job, but it is a stunning bridge, beautiful. So it was a little bit shady down at Little Crystal Creek, and we thought it might be a good idea to come out to the campsite, get set up early at Big Crystal Creek, and then go for a bit of an afternoon dip. We're here at the campground and it's absolutely packed. This must be like the Townsville's favourite camping spot. So yeah, we're going to go out to the creek itself and hopefully go for a little bit of a dip before the sun sets. This is beautiful. Stunning. What do you think, Chicky? It's massive. Alright, the quickest way to test this out. I'm already nervous. Alright. Yeah, it's not bad at all. So a little bit of a stressful morning. We sort of put in the wrong directions and ended up over at that ferry terminal over there, which is a completely different ferry company. We finally got on board with like 1 minute to spare, and we're just about to depart to Magnetic Island. Alrighty, so we're about to do our topless car rental. So we're about to go check out the wreck of the SS City of Adelaide, which was an old vessel ship built in Glasgow, Scotland in 1863. It was transported down here and it was used as a bargo ship up until 1912, when there was a fire that sort of burnt the ship apart, and then they basically ran the hulk straight into the bay here at Cockle Bay on Magnetic Island in 1916. Now, during World War II, there was an RAAF training ship or plane coming through the area, and it actually struck the mast of the ship, and 4 people were killed during that training exercise. Jeffrey Bay, Magnetic Island, and we're about to do a little walk around the peninsula here, and apparently it's famous for rock wallabies, so hopefully we get to see a few.
Jeffrey Bay is home to friendly rock wallabies, which, as their name suggests, find the rocky terrain of Jeffrey Bay to be their ideal home. The best time to see the rock wallabies is at dusk.
back to Bungalow Bay, we were greeted by more than a few noisy friends who grew a quick attachment to Miranda.
So that was a pretty spectacular experience. Just came down to the pool to go for a swim, and they were doing bird feeding, and we probably had about 50 or so rainbow lorikeets just flying everywhere. They were feeding the birds and they were jumping all over us, and Miranda had at one stage I think about 6 or 7 all up her arms and on her head, which is kind of crazy. I only had my camera, but I got a couple of good shots there. We're going to go for a hike now for afternoon. We're going to head up to the forts. So forts are old World War II forts up on the hill here in Magnetic Island, and it's supposed to be one of the best spots to spot koalas. Magnetic Island is renowned as having the highest concentration of koalas in Australia, so there's a fairly good chance that we'll see some up there, and fingers crossed, hopefully we do. But yeah, this place is already spectacular, you know, just walking through here. We're at Bungalow Bay, that's the name of the place that we're at, but we've had joeys and wallabies hopping through, and apparently they have a lot of koalas here. There's even a koala sanctuary next door, so highly recommend this place. It's pretty damn amazing. Alright, Miranda's being very cautious of the drop bears because they actually attack tourists. They can sense your non-Australian blood.
Drop bears may or may not be a mythological creature. It is said that they are attracted to the scent of international tourists and will attack as one passes beneath. This may or may not be told to scare or trick said tourists. What is certain, though, is that Magnetic Island is renowned for the highest density of wild koalas in Australia, which we came across quite easily in the Forts Walk.
I'm so happy.
First koala of Magnetic Island. First of hopefully many.
Koalas can typically be found in forest or woodlands, particularly where there is an abundance of eucalypt trees. Their only food source consists of ingesting the toxic eucalypt leaves, which provides them a low nutrient diet. Due to this diet, they live a very low energy lifestyle, allowing them to snooze up to 20 hours a day.
So we're keeping score of the koala spotting now. What's the score, Miranda?
1-1.
1-1. So I got the first one, and Miranda just spotted that last one up there. Let's see if we can get another one. All right, Miranda, who's winning now?
Me.
2-1. So it's koala number 3 up here. He's just chilling like a koala villain.
Koalas were introduced to the island in the 1930s as an effort to protect them from threats on the mainland such as the devastating chlamydia epidemic, which has caused widespread blindness and infertility amongst koalas. This resulted in a rapid declining population of koalas and an urgent need to protect the species. They transported chlamydia-free koalas to the islands where they bred and flourished. To this day, the koalas of Magnetic Island remain free from the disease.
So I think we've made it to the fort just in time for sunset, and it has been a fantastic afternoon. 3 koalas, we're very happy with that. I'm sure there would have been more, but we're in a bit of a hurry to get this beautiful sunset light. So get up to the top and get some great shots. These bunkers were built for World War II. Stationed just outside of Townsville, which was a very important military base during the time for the Allied forces, staving off the Japanese in the Pacific. And this was between 1942 and 1945 they stationed here, so it was close towards the end of the war, but still very important. That is spectacular.
The Fort's Walk leads you to a series of ruins of a forts complex used during World War II. From the top of the fortifications, you can experience panoramic views of Magnetic Island, making it the perfect place to watch the sunset.
Bit of a slow and lazy day today. We've just left from the Bungalow Bay, and we're making our way down to Radical Bay and also onto Florence Bay to do a little bit of snorkeling and some chilling out in a few beaches. A little bit of a hike, but on the way we thought we'd go through the butterfly forest and check out the butterflies.
Only a small walk from Bungalow Bay is the butterfly forest. We caught a koala napping in the tree as we entered.
You wouldn't even notice this coming through, but there are just tons hanging off every branch, like hundreds and thousands. Really, they just look like leaves. Getting really, really close to see them. Easily confused to be leaves.
This butterfly forest serves as a haven for butterflies which migrate to the island over winter. Here they will rest and conserve their energy until they return to the mainland in the summer for breeding season.
We are at Florence Bay now. Miranda's getting excited. She's gonna dive in. Oh wow. So we've got this beautiful reef just off the beach here in Florence Bay. Brought some snorkel gear. Gonna go explore.
Magnetic Island is renowned for its great snorkeling locations. On our final full day, we opted to hike out to some of its pristine beaches as opposed to snorkeling in the famous spots such as the Snorkel Trail in Jeffrey Bay. Given an extra day, this is what we would recommend based on what we've heard.
What do you think, Miranda?
Pretty cool.
Would you say it's radical? Alrighty, so here we are at Radical Bay. About to take the ultimate plunge. The water's kind of nice. Good? Woohoo!
Resting up on the shore, we came across a Brahminy kite circling above us. It was an awesome moment just sitting back and watching this amazing creature in its element.
So we are back to Horseshoe Bay, which is pretty awesome. It was a little bit of a steep walk up and down some steps. Took us just over an hour each way to get to and from Florence Bay, but totally worth it. Great little bays and beaches, and now we're just gonna chill.
All right, a Chicky. Cheers. Up and down through the streets of Chicky's town.
Now guys, this handsome boy here has been absolutely lost people, but unfortunately does not love them. These guys have been 40 to 60 years old. Due to the recent bushfires we have had around, these guys do struggle quite a fair bit to be able to find a tree hollow, as everyone now thinks that those tree hollows are going to be a fire hazard.
One of the cool things about Bungalow Bay is the adjacent wildlife park located on site. We opted for a breakfast and nature talk, learning about the rescued and rehabilitated animals they look after.
She's a shingleback, also known as a bobtail lizard, a stumpy lizard, a two-headed lizard, a pinecone lizard, or a sleepy lizard.
All right, Chicky, what are we doing? Oh, they're coming. And what food are you looking forward to the most? They got pancakes up there.
This guy here sees his reflection even in that glass sometimes and starts arcing up at himself. Now what he will start to do, if he is getting quite cranky, he will puff his beard up, turn it really dark black, and then start to do a series of headbutts. Like, you want to fight? Come on, mate. Fight. You want to fight? Let's fight. She is a baby saltwater crocodile. Now, they are one of the largest reptiles in Australia. These guys here, if she is a female, she'll only grow up to 3 meters long.
And before not too long, we were joined by the star of the show, Pebbles the koala.
Guys, now this big beautiful boy here, his name is Harry.
Named after Harry Potter due to the scar on his head, Harry was definitely my favourite in the park.
So he has come here to live with us. Now, because he is from South Australia, we do like to accommodate him as best as possible, and his little den in there is completely air conditioned. He does go around your neck. It is just because he thinks that is the biggest tree bridge around, and he's going to basically go and head around that to basically be as supported as possible. You support 2/3 of a snake, they're going to feel really quite comfortable, they will pretty much stop and basically be quite nice and chill. This guy here pokes his tongue out this way, he's going to know that the sense of shadow is stronger on this side, and basically follow that sense.
Another week still wouldn't have been enough. Sadly, we had to leave Magnetic Island. I have a feeling we will return someday. Left Magnetic Island, had a beautiful 2 days there, really enjoyed it. Right now on our way to Cairns, we're stopping off for the night at a place called Wallaman Falls, which shares the same World Heritage area as the Crystal Creek, which we camped at the other night, just before Magnetic Island. And
And Wallaman Falls is actually known as the tallest waterfall in Australia. So yeah, we're excited to visit that.
Professional photographer right here, TCAS. All those tablelands. Straight out to the ocean.
Climbing back up into the highlands that support the ancient World Heritage Wet Tropics rainforest, we arrive at Wallaman Falls campground.
We were both in love with the abundance and variety of wildlife this unique ecosystem supports.
So I'm just going to show off what I'm actually cooking at the moment. Making up a curry style stew with coconut milk and coconut cream. This, it's already starting to boil. Give it some time. Should come good. This is our first campfire stew. Well, technically it's a curry stew. So this is the end result of our campfire curry. Delicious. Let's do it.
At this spectacular Wallaman Falls. It is the tallest waterfall in Australia, measuring up to 269 meters tall. I think the tallest waterfall I've ever seen in my life. Stunning.
Several major geological events created what is today known as Wallaman Falls. These events date as far back as 50 million years ago.
So we're just undertaking the Djinda walk, which heads down the gorge to the bottom of Wallaman Falls. This is the Herbert River Valley back behind me here, and all this area here is UNESCO World Heritage listed. It's a part of the Wet Tropics Queensland area. It's a rainforest that goes back 100 million years, making it part of the oldest or longest surviving, I should say, rainforest in the world. And this area is home to a whole bunch of endangered species like the southern cassowary, for example. Did see a musky rat last night, which is really, really cool. But yeah, we'll enjoy the walk down the gorge. It's supposed to be quite steep, so they say 2 to 3 hours, and we'll come back up and make our way up to Cairns. So I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty positive that this is a gimpy plant here, which is known as potentially the most venomous plant in the world. Apparently the stings can cause pain for like weeks after you get stung, so we're going to be very cautious keeping our arms and legs close to us on this trek.
By the spray of the magnificent spectacle in front of us, mesmerized by the cascading water and rainbow formations. Moments like these were worth every step of the 326-meter climb back up.
day that New South Wales and Victoria are locked off to Queensland, and it looks as though Brisbane is now blocked off for a little while as well for this area of Queensland. We're in far north of Queensland, and where we're about to head, Cairns, is one of the biggest tourist destinations in all of Australia, and it looks as though we're pretty much going to be there during a time when no one is around, which sounds great, and I'm sure it will be great, but we've just received a phone call from our scuba diving in Port Douglas. Now, their boat normally takes 80, and on our trip they've got 6 pre-booked already, and it looks like they'll probably have to cancel it, which kind of sucks for us. He's on a rampage. Oh, the geese are right down the other end. He's being like...
So tell me, baby, is it good to you? Will it too deep for the things that I do? I can take you high.
Rushed intro this morning. We've finally made it down here to Marlin Wharf, which is where we are departing for our Great Barrier Reef diving trip. So snorkel dive with Passions of Paradise. Yeah, so it's going to be an awesome day. Hopefully we get some great shots. So we're on the Great Barrier Reef just outside of Cairns, about to do our first dive, which is 1770. It's on the Hastings Reef.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, here we go.
Good.
Warm?
Yeah, it's warm.
Seen from space, the Great Barrier Reef is the largest structure built by living organisms on Earth. The reef is one of the most diverse habitats on the planet, with close to 9,000 species of marine life which call it home. While the most modern reef system is only several thousands of years old, many of the creatures which inhabit it have existed for millions of years.
The reef does more than protect its inhabitants. Coral reefs play a crucial role in our environment by recycling carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, creating oxygen. They also protect shorelines by acting as a buffer between rough weather and the coast. Without this buffer, the coastal towns and cities would be battered by incoming cyclones and waves.
Contrary to what most might think, the reef largely benefits from the tourism industry. Not only do the protectors of the reef rely on grants from the government and non-governmental organisations, but they also depend on the flow of income that comes from tourism. It allows them to be able to put more money back into the area to help keep it healthier for the future.
Under the guidance of marine scientists, some of whom were on board the day we departed, many of the tour operators, such as Passions of Paradise, play a role in observing and rehabilitating the reef as witnessed by their coral growing stations.
How's that, Miranda?
Amazing.
Where are we right now?
Well, we're at the Great Barrier Reef, and we ticked off one of my number one bucket list items, which is to scuba dive the Great Barrier Reef. And I was like swimming in a giant aquarium. It was amazing.
Second dive, we're at Stepping Stones. Do you want to try your fins on first?
Whilst enjoying the reef and taking in the natural beauty, it's hard not to consider the impacts we as human beings are having on natural ecosystems such as this. The Great Barrier Reef has existed for about 500,000 years, and in its most modern form is at least 8,000 years old. It has survived throughout this time due to a delicate balance, and that balance is now largely under threat due to the impact climate change is having on our oceans.
In the past few years, there have been 3 major bleaching events on the Great Barrier Reef: 2016, 2017, and 2020, which has had an effect on up to 90% of the reefs present on the Great Barrier Reef. Scientific research and analysis show that causes of coral bleaching include factors such as rising sea temperatures and ocean acidification. These reefs take thousands of years to form and stabilize. With current trends, they could be gone within decades.
Due to its unique natural attributes and enormous scientific and environmental importance, the Great Barrier Reef has earned a UNESCO World Heritage status. The loss of an ecosystem of this magnitude wouldn't just be detrimental to Australia, but the whole world. Its loss would be felt in seas and oceans globally.
The impacts of ocean acidification and coral bleaching are indisputable when it comes to the science behind its causality, and the politics of inaction is devastating to even ponder. The Great Barrier Reef is a natural wonder. You only have to look upon it to realize that preserving it at all costs should be of the highest priority to mankind for the well-being of the planet and the future generations this world belongs to.
One of the key things we took away from the presentation given by Passions is the message of hope. It's not too late to turn things around. It's not too late to change the current course of the future. The reef is still here, and if we choose to prioritise it and look after it, then it will continue to flourish for generations to come.
Saying back from 1880, we're all forward to 2010. Things get hotter. Everyone knows that. Right, that's when we start seeing these massive back-to-back bleaching events. Now the scary part, scientists have now mapped it forward. Right, who's heard the year 2050 thrown around? Alright, yeah. Scientists think by 2050 we're going to start seeing the loss of the biodiversity on the Great Barrier Reef. That big word from the start that makes the Barrier Reef so special. Alright? That black squiggly line was us, where it starts to go up is us now, where it shoots skyward is the future. Right, that's if we continue doing everything we're doing. And everything we're not doing, as we are, as it stands. Why do I tell you this though? It's not to ruin your holiday, to make you all feel terrible, that kind of stuff. It's a bit of a call to action, because, like I said, it's just not dead yet. We still have a chance. That's where we come in. That's a little bit of personal responsibility. Like I said, a call to action. Because they've thrown in this other squiggly line, that blue one at the bottom. That's stabilisation. That is if we do everything scientists are telling us we need to do. Throw out the bags, use Tupperware, white Teslas, all that kind of stuff, alright? We do everything they're saying to do, we can flatten the curve, for lack of a better term, and start getting back to the way things could be. Down there, at that first site this morning at 1770, we call it, on Hastings Reef, we've got those beautiful big sandy lagoon areas, right? They're nice and flat and stable, they're about 8 metres deep. What we've done over that side, you might have seen it in the water, there was those kind of peaky floats with these big aluminium frames suspended underneath them. What we've done, we've got a special permit which allows us to touch the reef. Any little fragments that get broken off by storms, fish, you guys, whatever, we can then pick up, take to these frames, and zip tie onto the frames. And we're doing this for two reasons. The first reason is to get a bit of a baseline to monitor how quickly these corals can grow at different temperatures, all that kind of stuff. And then if anything does bleach, with nice little captive audience, we can photograph from every angle, all that kind of stuff. The special permits allow us to do this. You can't just sort of come out and start going willy-nilly. And that's what these guys are coming out to do today. JC Lorna is her baby at the moment, just looking after it. So she's coming out to make sure we're calling everything to the letter, because there's quite a few hoops you've got to jump through to be able to do this.
This certainly won't be our last trip to the Great Barrier Reef. Given its massive expanse, we hope to explore a whole lot more in the future.
Right now we're on the Kuranda Scenic Railway, which takes us on a beautiful scenic train ride to a place called Kuranda Village. And we have a few activities planned there, so that's exciting. However, as you can see right now, it's pretty empty, and normally a place like this would be absolutely packed because it's one of the top things to do in camps. So that's a bit sad for business right now, but it's probably due to Brisbane being in lockdown, as well as a lot of other places in Australia. So I think normally it would be packed, but right now we have the whole carriage to ourselves. Maybe good for us, but we do feel a bit bad for the business. In June 1891, the Cairns-Kuranda railway line was opened as a means to bring tin miners their much-needed supplies. Kuranda was eventually opened to the public as a scenic railway in 1915.
Park on the Kuranda Scenic Railway, and Barron Falls National Park was inscribed as part of the World Heritage List for the wet tropics area back in 1988. The actual railway itself was originally built to connect the ports down in northern Queensland up to the gold mining areas that were established up here in the 1870s. Probably one of the most beautiful train stations I've ever seen. So in the beautiful rainforest town of Kuranda right now, and just walking through the markets and checking out some goods. It's a beautiful place. It's kind of like the rainforest meets the Wild West in a lot of ways, which is really interesting mix, but it's beautiful. Oh, look, we got a wallaby over here.
As part of our pre-booked package, we visited the Rainforestation Wildlife Park, which also included an army duck tour and an Indigenous Aboriginal exposition on the local culture.
Couple little freshies. We'll be swimming with those up in the Northern Territory, won't we? Up in the Kimberley, Western Australia. No freshy swims. So this is one we still are yet to see in the wild. This is the southern cassowary.
The park introduced us to our first real tree kangaroo. This unique creature we will finally see in the wild on our next episode.
army ducks on land is about 80 kilometres an hour, and in the water that drops down to around 8 or 10 kilometres per hour. Okay, so Miranda here in the front seat's kindly offered to help me out with the driving of the army duck. We do have a bit of a problem with this army duck. Our reversing beeper's broken, so you're going to be my beeper as we back up to the wall. So you know what a truck sounds like when it goes backwards? Yeah, just don't pull too hard or that might pop out. So, okay, off you go. That's it. You got it. Nearly there. Good job. Big hand for Miranda for helping us out. Thank you, Miranda. Okay, so thanks to Fong here in the front seat, she just turned the propeller on. So we're now officially a boat. So you can call me Captain Chris from now on. And these are my first mates, Miranda and Fong. So if anybody's wondering if there are any crocodiles in the water, the quickest way to find out is to just pop your hand over the edge into the water, shake it about for a minute. Walking through the forest and you touch those leaves there with your bare arm or leg, you'll get a very painful burning sting, just like a jellyfish sting. And if you're lucky, the pain might stop after 1 or 2 days, but then after that, any time you get that same area cold or wet, the pain will come back again. And it can keep coming back for 6 months or more. It's called a stinging tree, or gimpy, and there are tiny little glass-like hairs in the leaves of that tree. Those hairs will break off inside your skin and work their way in. And inside of those hairs are poisons and neurotoxins. And any temperature change, such as just walking into an air-conditioned room or having a bath or a shower, that's enough to stimulate those neurotoxins, and that will cause you a bit more pain and discomfort. Just stick your tongue out. There you go. It's quite strong, isn't it?
Can you taste it?
Oh yeah.
It's just a bit sour, like sherbety.
That's
It's
good.
spicy.
Okay, you had to be very accurate or you become the vegetarian.
Oh, that was very close. Jeez.
Okay, it takes me all day to get warmed up.
Oh, that's close. Oh.
Nice.
Oh.
Okay. We got one banana tree. No, not today. Not today. 1 o'clock, sir. Yes. No, don't go towards it. Stay here. 1 o'clock.
There you go.
Power. Yes.
Hey.
This
Hey.
is okay. Not too bad.
Woo.
Alrighty, Miranda, where are we?
We're up in the sky
We're up in
on
the sky.
Skyrail, and we're heading back to Cairns.
Nice. A little bit of a different journey to our way up.
Towering over the rainforest canopy at nearly 41 metres, the Skyrail was built in 1995 and the cableway stretches a total of 7.5 kilometres between Smithfield and Kuranda.
For our last day in Cairns, we wanted to head out to Fitzroy Island, which is said to have the best chance at spotting green sea turtles. We may have chose the windiest and roughest day of the week to head out.
What do you think, Tashiki?
It's beautiful already, look at that.
Where are we?
Fitzroy Island.
And where is Fitzroy Island approximately?
45-minute boat ride away from Cairns.
That's alright. It's in the Mission Bay area, so we're not too far from the Great Barrier Reef. In fact, I think we're actually technically part of the Great Barrier Reef. There's a whole bunch of little reefs around here. We're going snorkeling today, but yeah, Fitzroy Island. Supposed to be one of the most beautiful places in the region, and it's supposed to be home to the most beautiful beach in Australia. Now, it depends on who you ask, but we'll get to check it out and judge for ourselves.
Located on the island is the Cairns Turtle Rehabilitation Centre. Here they rescue sick and injured sea turtles with the goal of rehabilitating them back to health to return to the ocean.
So we just went to the Sea Turtle Rehabilitation Centre here on Fitzroy Island, and it's basically just more of an information talk. We did get to see one of the turtles that's rehabilitating their tank. The lady there said that they'd had 22,000 turtles over the last 10 years or so since the centre has opened, and their success rate is somewhere about 90 to 95%, which is pretty good. Yeah, and some of the more common problems they're having are things like plastics and stuff like that ending up in the sea, like shopping bags, for example. Turtles will mistake those for jellyfish, and it causes a lot of issues with them. Unfortunately, turtles can't regurgitate us, so yeah, it causes a lot of problems. So yeah, now we're heading out to Nudie Beach, which is supposed to be the beautiful beach. We'll find out when we get out there anyway. So we're on Nudie Beach right now, and despite its name, it's not actually a nudist beach. It is considered a really beautiful beach. I have seen some websites and whatnot that say that it's the most beautiful beach in Australia, the most beautiful beach in Queensland. It's a bit hard for us to judge because we kind of chose a bit of an awkward day. It's really windy and crazy right now, and we don't even know if we're going to go in snorkeling, which is kind of the reason why we came out here, because of the population of green sea turtles in the area. So hopefully it does calm down a bit at some stage so we can go for a snorkel, but we'll see. The water seems to be a little bit calmer down here, and we're just in the main bay here on Fitzroy Island. We're going to give it a little bit of a try. We've got too much time before we have to head back on our ferry, so hopefully we might get to see some green sea turtles.
Due to the heavy winds, the usually pristine waters were stirred up, which limited our visibility. The sections we did explore contained some outstanding corals and abundant marine life. Given more time under better conditions, I'm sure we would have seen plenty of sea turtles, but for now we will add this to our ever-growing list of places we need to return to.
What do you think of the snorkeling?
Oh, it was beautiful. Saw so many fish.
There were a lot of parrotfish in there. I saw lionfish, which was pretty cool.
No green sea turtles though.
No green sea turtles. That's alright. It was still a gorgeous little snorkel spot.
So that was Fitzroy Island. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see any of the green sea turtles out there in the reef, but it was still really nice.
Join us on our next episode as we continue north through the Daintree rainforest and right up to the very tip of Australia at Cape York. At Global Travel Stories, we want to hear what you'd like to see more of. Please leave a comment below and remember to like and subscribe for our big adventures coming soon.